Hi friends, and welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Abair, and this is where I share my insights, and today I'm talking about the secret to undeniable success. And I'm basing this talk on a song for He's a Jolly Good Fellow that no one can deny. How do you find the secret to undeniable success? It's not as hard as you think, and it's pretty simple once you understand. Stick around. When I was very young, like maybe 7 or 8, I remember seeing something that lit me up. And when I tell you what it is, you're probably going to laugh because it seems silly. But this is all part of the process of learning how to become successful, is to see how silly success is and how success can be found in any location. It's sort of embedded into the fabric of the universe. And this object, which drew my attention to it, was the pipe organ. Most people, I would imagine, when they think of a pipe organ, they think of a dusty choir loft with an old hunchback man playing hymns for a church of dying blue hairs. Someone living in poverty, a outcast hunchback up in a balcony somewhere. That's the image that most people would have, or a funeral home, or an old lady. Pipe organs or vampires or haunted houses. That's what the world thinks about some of the things we fall in love with. And I fell in love with a pipe organ. And I remember as a young child seeing the shiny pipes and the keyboards and the pedals and how grand and how amazing. It was just like, whoa! Like you see in the movies when the angels sing, you spot something in the world and you think, oh. And it's like, I want to touch this. I want to learn about it. So this is the gateway to success, is to see in the universe something that you stumble upon that makes you go, And I could be overly romanticizing this, but I remember walking into a church for the first time. A church we didn't attend, but a church where we had our summer vacation Bible school. And they had a pipe organ. And I can remember seeing it. This had to have been in 1983, 84, when I was about 8. I do have that memory. And we were in the church, and we were singing our little songs, and I kept turning, the organ was behind me, and I kept turning around, wanted to look at it. And I see when I play the organ, when I used to in a church, children are fascinated. Some children are fascinated with it. I was enraptured. I was in a frenzy. I was possessed by it. And at the time I was studying piano. And so every year we'd go to Bible school and I'd see the pipe organ. And then we ended up going to that church and I got to hear it for the first time. That very organ I fell in love with, which was not much. It was just a little thing. But it was silver pipes with gold tuning slides. It was just in the organ, and it just filled the room, and we sang hymns. Oh my God, it was just the best thing in the world. To me, you see. So as I progressed in my piano lessons, I kept being curious about it. And I started to play it. We attended the church and they let me play it. Some 11-year-old kid, you want to play the organ? Sure. No problem. Turn it on and see what you can do with it. And then I started learning on my own. My mom would drive me to the church. If we had a free Saturday, can I go to the church and play with the organ? Can I mess with? My Aunt Pat had a little electronic organ in her house, and when we go there, I'd go straight to the organ, turn it on, and just mess around with it. That was my entertainment. Everybody else was doing other things. I was on the organ. Every time there was an organ to be played in my little elementary school, my band director, I went to a Catholic school, my band director let me play the organ for the school masses. It was just this little funky Hammond organ. Ooh. And so I played it. Oh, what was neat. So every time I could get my hands on it, I'd go to the music store. And in our music store, in the back, they had all these organs and pianos. And I would just want to, touch them, right? So it became an obsession for me. Pure delight. No career path. It was pure enthusiasm. And innocent. It didn't dawn on me that could be made into a profession. That I was too young to understand that. And in sort of looking back on my life, I realized that what carved the way for me was my enthusiasm. I came from a lower middle class family. We didn't have a whole lot of money. And when I asked for organ lessons, those were expensive, and I had to drive. We had to drive to another city, which was an hour and a half away, because I lived in a small town, and they didn't really have any classical organ teachers. So once a week, I had to drive. My mother had to drive me, and then I became old enough to drive, then I had to drive myself, pay for these expensive lessons. And meanwhile, I was at the church, practicing and practicing and practicing. So my parents saw I was enthusiastic about it. I was possessed. I was in a frenzy. And then I wanted to go to this college that was very expensive. My brothers had to go to the local colleges. They weren't sure kind of what they wanted to do. They changed their majors. I wanted to do this. I was so excited about majoring in music. So I'll tell you what my parents did is they sold our family home so that I could afford to go to the college of my dreams. So what the lesson here is, what paves the way for success that cannot be denied? It's a simple thing, and it's a little Pollyanna for people because they think, well, hard work, discipline, daily practice, while that may seem to carve the way for success, the thing that fuels it is a possession, a frenzy, a complete and total enrapturing joy when you're engaged in the activity. And when my hands were touching the pipe organ, I was gone. I had no problems. I had no future. I had no past. I had the love of my life. So you might say that opened a chakra, just this gushing love and enthusiasm. It's a complete enthusiasm for something you fall in love with. So you look at the word entheo, or enthusiasm. From the Greek, it means to be possessed by a god. From the Latin root, the word enthusiastic or enthusiasm means frenzy. So when you're in this elated state, you can move mountains. Enthusiasm is related to faith. Jesus said, if you have faith of a mustard seed, it'll move mountains. And I saw my enthusiasm move mountains. My parents sold their home. And I began to be able to apply that enthusiastic, enrapturing, knife on butter kind of faith that's undeniable. For he's a jolly good fellow that nobody can deny. So if a child comes to you and they exhibit a lot of passion and enthusiasm, oh, this would be so, and they have talent and they have drive, and they come back to it and back to it and back to it, and they can't get enough of it. You can't say no. Now, on the other end of that, you have the shysters who are trying to give you a sales pitch. Now, these are the people that have their eye on the prize later. That the enthusiasm is going to be something that we're going to get to if you invest in me. It's kind of like Shark Tank, right? If you want the world to conspire with you, if you want the world to say yes, if you want your dreams to come true, you have to be a jolly good fellow, and you have to show the enthusiasm honestly. See, people can sniff out the fakes. Because the sales pitch for enthusiasm will be like, if you invest in me, we're going to get rich. We're going to have all this stuff later. They can't see the enthusiasm now. If you have this enthusiastic, hot-burning, white-hot passion for what you're doing, people can't help but invest in you. Especially if you're young. Imagine me at 18 years old, so passionate about the organ. My grandparents, my parents, everybody in the community would have been over backwards. You know why? Because enthusiasm paves the way. That's the truth. If you're possessed by something, I'm not talking about withholding enthusiasm after you get to your goal. Like, if I could get my degree from this place, and if I can get my credentials, then I'm going to be very enthusiastic. So invest in me now because the enthusiasm is coming later. That's going to be hard. If you go before the sharks and you have a service or a product that you think is going to be some kind of big hit, and we're all going to get rich when this thing goes viral, you can forget it. If you're enthusiastic about your mom and pop operation and the level you're at now, what you do is you are secretly, under the cover of darkness, building your skill. So how do we do this? We say to ourselves, if I had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, what would I do? And you do that. And you devote yourself to that enthusiastically, despite what the outside world is telling you, which is no. You see, I think there's two worlds. There's the conceptual world and the means to an end kind of a world, or the egoic world. And then there's this deep substructure of the world. And the surface world is a sea of red, which tells you, you can't do that. That's impossible. You can't do that. You can't dance for a living. You can't make people laugh for a living. You can't start a business. The surface level is a sea of red. And if you know the story of Moses, he crossed the Red Sea. That's what that meant. That's what that story is about. The surface is blocking you. The mind, other people, postponing your joy for later. That's all surface stuff. Deep below the surface is this hot, white hot, like charcoal burning ember called enthusiasm. And secretly, you go to the church and you practice under the cover of darkness. Like I did. Every free moment I practiced. And so each one of my YouTube videos is another practice for doing what I love. And the subscribers or support or whatever, it's not there. I don't have the external green light. I have an external red light. It says this YouTube channel is not going anywhere. There's no monetization. There's no traction. Nothing. No. Enthusiasm is undeniable. If you're a jolly good fellow, nobody can deny you. They will see you. You will attract it. You will get better and better and better only because you're in a possessed frenzy. Your enthusiasm, you are possessed by a God, yourself, the God of love, yourself. You keep feeding your embers of faith and enthusiasm. And doors that don't open for your typical person just open. Mountains move. Dominoes fall. And people wonder what your secret is. For he's a jolly good fellow that nobody can deny. He loves what he does. He's enthusiastic about his service or his product. He's enthusiastic about the person he is. He's enthusiastic about everything. Some people don't like that. They think that's too simple. So what do? They create drudgery out of it rather than sorcery. It's sorcery to go and just work on writing, to work on dancing, to work on your skills under the cover of darkness simply because you love it so much you can't stand it. And I know what that's like. I did that with music. And then it tapered. At 50, 48 years old, it was like, okay, that's it. Now your new enthusiasm is to teach people. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm sorry for that cut in the video. I normally don't do that, but my dermatologist called and all is well. So that's good news. And I wanted to take that call. So getting back to what I was saying, if you are genuinely enthusiastic about anything, you would do it even if you weren't paid for it. And he keeps beckoning you and calling you. You're bound to get better at it. Opportunities will open for you. And things will be very effortless. Why? Because enthusiasm is undeniable. And success is inevitable. My name is Ryan Hebert. And I hope you enjoyed these insights. If you have, please check out my blog. It's called MyMorningMotivator.com. And I appreciate you watching.